Good afternoon. This is David Lewis with Right Line Trading at Night. I want to go ahead and do an audio check. If you can hear me, just go ahead and type Y or yes in the chat box.
Sound is good, David.
Great. Thank you so much. So good afternoon. Glad everybody could make it today. I see we have a bunch of people in the room. So my goal over about the next 35 minutes or so is to show you simply what we believe based on a lot of work. And I say that quite seriously, and a lot of research and a lot of testing, a system that we found produces superior results. And you're going to see a couple things that I believe separate us from some of the other folks in the industry, and I think you're going to be excited about what you're about to discover and some of the things that we're going to show you. The other thing I will let you know is it's my intention, again, over the next 35, 40 minutes, is to go ahead and to make this interactive as possible. So I'm looking for any questions that you may have. One of the things that we do that makes us a little bit different from some of the other folks out there is that we, number one, trade at night. Our night room opens at 5 p.m. Central, and we trade for a couple hours into the evenings. Then we also have a pre-market room in which we go ahead and we trade from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. Monday through Friday. That room is not yet open on a full-time basis. It will be in the next month or so. And I'm actually going to be sharing some things from that room as well. So let's go ahead and get started. Give me a minute here to pull up our slides. Having one or two small technical issues, but that's okay. We'll get through this really quickly. So here's what you're about to discover. You can't call tops and bottoms, but you can trade them. Now, there's no piece of software out there that can actually say, hey, this is a top and this is a bottom, but we've discovered a way through what's called a transition zone trade that it is possible to be able to leverage trades like this. And so that's one of the things that we're going to be showing you this afternoon, evening, depending upon what part of the world that you're in. The other thing we have that makes us a little bit different from everybody else is we actually have a room coordinator, and his name is Dave H. And Dave H is going to be here, and part of Dave's job is to go ahead and facilitate what's going on, to address questions, and let you kind of take a look and see what it is that we're doing. And what I'm going to promise you is that we're going to go ahead and show you something that you probably have never seen before. So I've got a whole bunch of slides. I've got a really sophisticated PowerPoint presentation, but rather than showing you a lot of different things, what I want to do is kind of jump in and actually give you a feel for some of the trades that we're taking. So if you have the software, if you could go ahead and let us know, say, yes, I'm familiar and have the Right Line software. If you don't, just let us know that. So this way we can go ahead and tailor the presentation a little bit to you. I see people are rolling in here. It's great. So a lot of you, there's a few familiar names that I see. It's good to see. Good to see you. Yes. No. All right. So quite simply, what we've done is, and again, I'm going to come back to the slide one, which is the original slide, is that you can't call tops and bottoms. But what we can do, and what we've done is figured a way to go ahead and trade them. What you're seeing is a standard chart based upon a modified Unorenco candle. And I'm also going to make the assumption that most of you are familiar with trading, understand the difference between the various candles that you're going to see out there. Over the last 7 years here at Right Line Trading, we have really figured out a way to use something that is known as a modified Unorenco candle, and that's what you're seeing. The modified Unorencos themselves allow us to actually see what's going on in the chart in a unique way. And what I mean by that is it allows us to take a look and to see some things that are going on when a trade is moving from one zone to another. And some of you may be thinking, well, what do you mean by a zone? In other words, it's moving from a top down to a lower position, or what we think of moving from a top to a bottom. This is the type of thing that we're looking at. This is a oil chart. Looks like this was on 9/27. This was a pre-market trade, and again, as I had said in the beginning, the room is open from 5 p.m. till around 7:30, 8 p.m. Just depends upon what the volatility of the market looks like. what's going on, the type of price action. Sometimes we trade for an hour and a half. The other evening we traded for 3 hours. It just depends. So I think I wanted to answer Dave R's question regarding it. And good, Marilyn, you have it. Good. So I'm gonna try to field some of the questions. Great. Dave has it. John, yep, good. All right. So for some of you, this is going to look very familiar, but I do want to take a second if you've never seen modified Unirenco candles before, because they look a little bit different. One of the things that they do is they take the noise out of the candles, because as you'll notice, each candle is basically the same size. For those of you that are familiar with the day system or the day room where they trade, what we do is we trade a little bit differently. We don't need something called background bias, which is either the light blue area over here, the green, the white, the light pink, or even the darker pink. We don't necessarily need those types of areas with which to trade, because what we found is the key elements to our system. And again, if you've never seen this before, I'm going to ask you just for a little bit of indulgence, and I promise that this will become clear, because I'm actually going to show you a live trade that we took the other day, and it will be self-explanatory. But rather than just showing that to you immediately, I wanted to give you a little bit of background on how everything works. So basically what you're looking at on the chart is you're looking at this line over here that starts at about 4:15 a.m. and goes yellow, then green, then red, then green, then red, then green, then yellow, and then turns dark red and begins moving down at a very nice angle. This is what we refer to as the trend line. And the trend line is the key to our, and again, we'll refer to it either as a trend line trade or as a transition zone trade. And basically what we're doing is we are trying to take price action when it is locked in one particular direction. And at this point, as you can see, price was locked between about 56.45 on the low side to about 56.65 on the high side. Now, when we get these yellow bands or yellow colors within the trend line itself, what that's telling us is the market is currently in a neutral mode. What we know is it's going to break out of a neutral mode. With most softwares, with most trading rooms, what they can't tell you is when that's going to happen. They know that the market will move because, as we all know, the market oscillates tremendously, other than when it's in chop. And I want to address that right up front. 70% of the time, markets are going to be flat. They're either going to be in consolidation or they're going to be in a chop. They're going to be in chop city, as we like to call it. Or what's that, Mike? Mike said chop suey. Yep, it's about the same thing. Chop suey. Basically, when we see this yellow trend line, we can begin to take a look at other quantifying factors as to what the predictable direction of the market is going to go in. Now, what we have on top and what you're seeing up here are proprietary pivots that are represented by the purple dashed line, the purple dash dotted line, and then the crimson dot line. And these all represent pivots which are proprietary to the software. So in this case, if you're looking at this chart, you would say, okay, it looks like price was moving up, and indeed it was from about, I believe, about 3 o'clock in the morning. It went up, it hit 3 separate areas of resistance up here. It was moving up into a support zone, into the pivots, and what happened is it bounced off, and then it began to dip below. The question that we ask ourselves as traders is, what's going to happen next? And that, I think, is the $64,000 question, or the $164,000 question, or the $1,604,000 question. Where is the market going to go, and what's it going to do? So how do we know that this indeed is going to be a bullish move? Sorry, how do we know that this is going to be a bearish move? Or in other words, do we think the market is going to drop down, or is it our belief that it's going to push back up after it retraced slightly and then bust through this these pivots above us? Well, there are certain things that we can begin to look at. And again, the first indicator is this trend line. When we have a flat trend line, what it's telling us, the market is going to move in a particular direction. Now, when the trend line goes red and we get some other things happening, down here is this black line is known as the modified Laguerre. And what we're looking for is the modified Laguerre to turn down at a steep angle. And in a perfect world, we want that angle dropping as quickly as possible and as smoothly as possible with no bumps or no lumps along the way, so that ultimately we want to see it locked long. and I know that those of you who haven't seen our software, you can think of this as an actual histogram, and that's a good representation. So what happened at about 5:27 a.m., the trend line begins moving down at an angle, and it's a nice smooth angle. The other thing that happens that we can see is the candles go from having a blue halo, which is a bullish indication, meaning that there is buying pressure in the market and chances are price is going to move up, to a pink halo, which tells us that there is now selling pressure, or potentially we have a bearish direction. That's one of the things that the software can tell us. So we know in advance, even though price is moving up here, and obviously we have heavy duty resistance on top, we've got our pivot levels. What we're beginning to see back here is that indeed we may have a potentially bearish move coming up. We also have a flat trend line. As price action can't get through these resistance bands, it begins to move down. When it moves down at this point right here, the Laguerre begins dropping. I also want to call your attention now to this blue dotted line known as fractal energy. And fractal energy is a very interesting indicator. And what it is it is an inverse measurement of volatility. What I mean by that is, as price is moving in a particular direction and it's moving consistently, and what I mean by consistently is we either have higher highs or we have higher lows, we have lower highs, volatility will be dropping as price is increasing or decreasing in relationship to that. So when we enter a trade, and it doesn't matter if it's a long or a short, what we're looking for is we're looking for fractal energy to drop, because price will start moving in a consistent direction one way. So here what we see is we have the Laguerre dropping down. We would want to enter the trade as the trend line begins to drop. You could enter it here at this price, 527. You could enter it at around probably 527.50, and that's where we'd be entering the trade. And I know that some of you that are familiar and have seen have been in the day room, one of the gold pivots down here is what's known as the VWAP. And I know that for some of you, you would stay away from the VWAP. The other thing is this color in here is actually that of a long indication. However, if we have fractal energy dropping, we have the Laguerre dropping in a very smooth line, and we have the candles that go below the trend line and begin to hug the trend line, the background bias literally becomes irrelevant to the trade. Because it is our expectation that when we have these conditions, what happens is the trend line will drop down, the candles will drop down in a very smooth, orderly fashion, and it will blow through the pivots. It blew through this VWAP at around 529. It blew through this lower pivot at 531. It actually hit the pivot down here at 55.70. And then typically we will get out either on the first or second retracement candle. This trade happened to be good for 62 ticks. And most of the people that I see, both in our evening room and in our pre-market room, are trading between 2 to 3 contracts, 2 to 3 lots. So if you had gotten this trade when we got in it, you would have had a very profitable trade, and you probably would have been done for the day after about 10, 12 minutes. That is our expectation, and these are the type of trades that we're seeing. The other thing is, by using transition zone trades or trend line trades, which we really think of as the same thing, we are able to take a trade to full excursion. Because I know in talking to a lot of traders and I've been doing trading now for about the last 30 years. I was introduced way back ago by a book called The World's Most Powerful Money Manual. And as I do these webinars repeatedly, I know people that have actually seen that book and are familiar with it. And that was their introduction to trading actually back in the 1980s. So just out of curiosity, if you ever read the book, The World's Most Powerful Money Manual, just go ahead and type yes. I'd be curious to know if there are other people that's how they either read the book or got their introduction. So I want to come back because we have two types of individual. It looks like people that are familiar with the software, people that aren't. So for those of you that have the software and are familiar and are in the daytime room trading the retail trading hours, I know that this may look like a little of a mind bender because it actually may look like we're violating some of the rules. One of the things that we discovered, and it took us about 4 months to do this, is we noticed that for those of you that want to trade on a break of the pivot, what happens is during a transition zone trade, you're getting into the trade much later than is necessary, and you're getting out much earlier. For example, if you trade on a pivot break, and there are a lot of people that will trade on a pivot break. So in other words, they've seen this. They go, yes, David, I can see that there's a ton of pivots up here. There's massive resistance. We got about nine points of resistance that we would have to get through. You know what? I want to make sure that I can confirm the trade and I can get through this gold dotted line, which in this case is the VWAP, the volume weighted average price. And then as I'm getting closer to a pivot down here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get out because I am going to look for price action to bounce here. It's going to bounce off a support and we're going to have a retracement. Theoretically, yes. If you're doing a pivot trend trade, you probably would have got in on this candle somewhere around, say, 56.20. You probably would have gotten out around 56 in change, 55.98, 99. Nothing wrong with a 20-point move on oil, especially if you're trading a couple contracts. My question is, if you have clear indications on the chart, which we do, why, for heaven's sakes, would you ever want to take a 20-tick winner when in this case, you could have taken a 60-tick winner? Now, is our expectation that we're going to take a trade to full excursion? You know what? It really is, because that's one of the things that we're seeing over and over. Now, obviously, down here, as you can see, we would have gotten out probably at about 55.80. I'm not going to get into the exact science of how we exit trades, but suffice it to say, if there's an opportunity to re-enter, we are going to re-enter this trade. The other thing is people may be asking themselves is, okay, why didn't you get out on a break of the pivot if you were expecting it to bounce off? And as I said, we had a couple things happening. Number one, the candles were hugging the trend line, which was solid red. I also want to point out these crosses and these dots. We refer to these simply as dots. The reason we had to do a dot and a cross is there are some limitations we can do with NinjaTrader 7 and NinjaTrader 8. So even though this is a cross, we refer to them as dots. So if you look up here at this price action at 5:27 a.m., you'll notice we have a single dot, which of course in this case is a cross, single dot, single dot. I also want you to notice the color. This color was a lighter red, this was a lighter red, and this color became a darker red. As the colors get darker on the bearish side, as they begin to move down, we want to see the darkest color possible. Now you notice that on this candle, probably around 528.50 or so, we'll just call it 528.50 for argument's sake, we have dual dots begin to appear. We have a light red dot, and then we have the dark cross. And then what happens is, as the price is dropping, again, it blows through a pivot. We have dual dots all the way. We're getting close to a pivot, but I want you to notice what happens on this candle here, let's say around 529.50. The light or the pink dots now became dark. So we now have dark dots. What this tells us is this trade has a lot further to go. And in this case, you'll notice we have dual dark dots all the way down until right here at about 532. I'm just going to say 532.50 for argument's sake. You notice we start to get lighter dots or lighter crosses up here. This is telling us that price is getting ready to either stall out or potentially reverse. It's one of the ways that we can take a trade to full excursion. I know that so many of you have heard the concept of cut your losers short, let your winners run. My question, honestly, how many of you actually do that? And again, be honest, I'd like to know, just type in, yes, I do that, no, I don't. Part of the reason that we do that is there is a couple of phenomena that we see when it comes to most retail traders. And that is the concept, number one, of FOMO, fear of missing out. So you get into a trade too late. The other phenomena that can occur, I call this psychological phenomena, is something called flop, fear of losing profits. And that's a big driver for people. And in working with the traders in our room, one of the things that I'm seeing is before they started working with us, they were cutting their winners short because they were afraid of a retracement. Now, for example, you notice here, the wick comes through the candle and goes up into the dot. And there are some people that would say, hey, I want to go ahead and exit there. I cannot live with retracements. They just do too much emotional toll on me. I know what you're saying, because for me, one of my foibles is, or it was really before looking and figuring out the nuances of how to trade the system, was I was terrified of retracements. I didn't want to live through a 15 or 20 tick retracement in hopes that I would get a 30 or 40 point move on the downside. For example, in this, I was happy to take whatever profit I was taking. I would be happy. I didn't understand how to manage a trade properly. I just didn't understand it. And through developing the trendline software or the nuances of it, because the software was already out there, we basically figured out how to trade it in a way that had never been traded before in the past 7 years. And it's been a pretty exciting and profitable discovery over the last 4 months. I also want to touch for a minute about the concept of what emotion is. And in trading, there are 2 types of emotions that we see. There is obviously negative, which is based upon fear. And again, when fear is present, FUD kicks in, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So one of the ways that we can minimize the amount of fear that we feel is by having a high level of confidence in the software that we're trading. That's going to be one of our keys. So let me go ahead and bring up another slide really quickly and show you this. Here, computer work. Yeah. So this was one of our night trades, and this was a 2.6 move on gold. So let me get back to the emotional concept for a second. So within trading, we have 2 types of capital. We have financial capital, and we have something known as emotional capital. And I believe, in my discovery and study of the markets over the last 30 years, that emotional capital is actually more important than financial capital. Let me quantify that. There are rooms out there, trading rooms and trading systems, that will talk about asymmetrical returns. What is an asymmetrical return? An asymmetrical return is where a person is going for a very large win and is willing to sustain multiple losses. And one of the things you'll see is a lot of advertising, a lot of promotion of, hey, you can do really well trading with a 37% win rate. And you see them. And there are even rooms that will go ahead and we'll show you their domes, which we do. We show our depth of market when trading. I think that's very important. But here's one of the things that I've discovered, and some of you may have either discovered this, or when I say this, you may have a light bulb go off for yourself. And that's this. At the end of the day, if I have a choice between trading for an asymmetrical win or a high win percentage, and just to quantify that, what that looks like is, at the end of a month, I would rather have $3,000 in profit on a high win percentage, which to me is over 70%, versus $4,000 on a 37% win rate. Here's the reason why, and this was my experience. I was in a room for about a year or so, and one of the things that they did is they went for asymmetrical wins. So when I was trading, I had about a $10,000 account, and for those of you that are familiar with the risk of ruin theory, it's quite simple. You never risk more than 2% of your capital on any one trade. And again, on a $5,000 to $10,000 account, I don't want to lose more than $400 to $600 in a day. So let's say I start off with two $300 losers. I went a little bit above my 2% risk of ruin formula. I'm now down $600. I'm done for the day. And then I would go and I would open my trading room, my software the next morning. I would hear the moderator say, hey guys, how are you? Or gals, ladies and gentlemen, what a fantastic day was. And I began thinking to myself, what are you talking about? What do you mean a fantastic day? I lost $600. Yep, for those of you that stuck around, we took that incredible gold trade and we made $1,400 on it. So minus our winners, we're up $800 for the day. And I'm thinking, $800 for the day? Dude, I lost 600 and I was shut down. I know a lot of you are also trading out of funded accounts. Guess what? You can't violate your funded rules. If your loss is more than 500 a day or 700 or 1,000 or so much in a week, you don't want to violate those. So one of the things I figured out for me and my personality, what's best for my emotional states, is I want high win rates. That's one of the things that I go for. So rather than pulling out my fancy slide deck, what I want to do is actually show you a trade that we took in our pre-market, because I think this will really help people understand and see what we do and see some of the different things that we do as well. So let me pull this up. All right, so there's a couple things that you're going to see here. This trade occurred at about 4 o'clock in the morning, and we typically will run our room from about 4 a.m. to 6:30, just depending on what's happening. And one of the things that I also mentioned is we have a room coordinator. Dave H., who's in Fort Worth, our corporate headquarters are based in Florida. Our corporate headquarters are here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And one of the things that Dave does is he is able to provide a level of support to traders and to be able to answer and field a lot of your questions. The other thing that separates us from just about every other room that I've seen out there, and I have been in a whole bunch of rooms and I've looked at just about every one of them. And let me tell you, there's a whole bunch of them out there. One of the things that we will do is give you live real-time coaching. What I mean by that is, let's say that, and again, we watch 4 markets during our pre-market trading. Pre-market trading, we watch the CL and we watch gold. So we watch oil and gold. But we will have traders that also watch the NASDAQ. They may watch the YM, and they may also watch the S&P. So let's say, Terry, since you seem to agree with a couple things that I said, we're going to use you, Terry, as an example. So we've got our 2 charts up, we're looking at them, and Terry says, hey, David, I noticed that we've got a setup on the NQ. Could you go ahead and pull that up and let's look at that? Absolutely. So I'm going to take it off my side monitors. I'm going to pull it over. I'm going to say, you know what, Terry, you're right. We do have a CL. We do have a potential NASDAQ trade. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. We'll look at the 30-minute chart. We'll look at the 4-hour chart. We'll go ahead and I will break that down very quickly and say, you know what? Gold isn't doing much right now, or oil isn't doing much. Let's go ahead and bring over the NQ and let's go ahead and monitor this trade right now. So it's very interactive. So I just want to let you know. So in other words, you can get live real-time coaching on trades you're considering taking, which I think is pretty fantastic. Again, I haven't seen that done in a lot of different places. So I'm going to go ahead. This trade is about 3.5 minutes. You're actually going to hear me. Let's go ahead and move forward with it so you can see what happens live in the room.
And yes, in the perfect world, I would have loved to have background bias, but again, we've got a nice angle down. We at least have single dots. The gear is locked short. Fractal energy is dropping. So it's my expectation we're going to get through these two pivots. And there we go. We're making money. Let me adjust my stop accordingly. Protect some profits. I'm not hearing the cash register. Okay, I was taking on target 1. Getting a good pink background, which is what we want to see. We're looking for this thing to continue to move. Because I've got a pivot, I'm going to protect my profits a little bit more. Just be a little bit more conservative. Put it right below the trend line. Unpaid background bias. And my ultimate goal on this trade is to be able to move my stop to 52.46, which is my target 2, and then I'm playing with house money. I know some of you think that may be a little bit aggressive, so I'm going to move my stop down a little bit, protect a little bit more profit. Yeah, I like the way that things are setting up. What I'd like to see is even the darker dots now appear. And again, for those of you that are a little bit more aggressive, you may have your stop set a little bit higher than mine, and that's okay. It's that individual risk tolerance and what you're comfortable with. It's time for a little herbal tea. That's how I wake up in the mornings. I stopped doing caffeine when I started on this new diet / eating regime that I shared with everybody in the room about 2 years ago. And there we go. Now we are making money. So my goal is to now move to target 2. And there we go. I'm now at target 2. And we are making money. We are picking up points. So I'm going to move my stop just above the trend line. Keep it there. Yes, we have excellent volume at 1,500, looking for 15. Could be looking even to get to almost 2,000 contracts a minute. Yep, moving my stop again, rolling it down, protecting profits. I don't know if there are any questions right now, because obviously I'm managing this trade. And if I get taken out here, it is completely okay. You will not hear me complain one iota. Just got taken out. So we have a beautiful trade. These are what I mean by these early morning trades. They're just pre-market trades for me are fantastic. They set up nicely. They're smooth. And right now, I guess everyone's thinking, wow, how do we call the bottom? Again, just used to it. We got a nice move out of it. Am I looking for a reversal? Absolutely. And so again, I pointed out up here, this is what I call a false positive. I'm not immediately taking the long. I'm not taking the other side of it.
Okay, let me bring up another example to show you. And then I'm happy to go and kind of break things down a little bit more for everyone. So does that give everyone at least a little bit of a flavor in terms of what it is that we're doing? And I know that we've only been talking for about 30 minutes. This was an example of a pre-market ES trade, and obviously this was one and done. And one of the gentlemen in our is in our pre-market room. One of the things he said was that he has a particular profit. Actually, you know what? I want to go back to this trade because I can break this one down because I know that some of you are probably going to have questions about it because there's some things on there you've probably never seen before. So let me see if I can grab this one really quickly. No, that's another one. Yeah, 62 ticks. Yes, Bobby, you're right. Nothing wrong with 62 ticks. I agree. Let me see if I can find that one now. Okay, so I think this is the actual trade itself. Okay, good. So I know that we have Dave H., who is our room coordinator on with us as well. Dave, have you had a chance to filter through some of the questions? We got a lot of people in the room, and I want to make sure that I get to them, but I want to answer any questions that are specific or technically just regarding the trade that I show you and some questions that people are going to have. Are there any that you saw in particular? If not, I'll be more than happy to start scrolling them.
Did you see Bob's question up there about the thin green, yellow, red line? He was asking if there's a trend line with a different period.
Is that the one at 3:30 p.m.?
3:18.
3:18. Okay. Wow, there are a ton of questions. Okay, let me go back to 3:18. I'll start. Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, yes, it's a good question, Bob. So what you're looking at, and let me just go through some of these now. And again, I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a background. I wanted to actually show you a trade. Now we can kind of, take the last 10, 15 minutes and kind of break these down a little bit more. So again, the yellow highlighted line is the VWAP, volume average weighted price. The purple line dash dot is the previous session price close. Now, the thin red line is a proprietary indicator that comes with the Rightline software. And what this is, this is a 50 period moving average of a 50 period. That's what the thin red line is. The dotted red line over here that is slightly above the trend line is a 15 moving average of a 15 moving average, which is proprietary. And in the day room, when they're trading in the day room, they use those lines a lot more than we do. Both at night, we use them a little bit more at night. We don't usually, or hold on, is that the truth? Yes, we don't use them during the pre-market trades. We just don't find it necessary, in all honesty. It's not an indication. What you're seeing down here are three different indicators. We have what's called a quant, which again is a proprietary instrument that was developed and embedded in the software. We then have what's known as the modified Laguerre and the Laguerre signal B. We don't use these color bands or these indicators directly to get into a trade, but we will use them to manage a trade once we're inside of it. The other question that we had is, why was I taken out of my trade? Because one of the things that I use is what's called an entity strategy. I do not have, currently our technical person, we have, and one of the things that I think separates us from a lot of other people, is we have a full-time staff member, Sergio, who is a NinjaTrader expert. And one of the things he is doing is actually working on the NDT. And what the NDT is, it is a custom piece of software that we've written that allows us to manage how we enter and exit trades. And when you were watching the last trade, I don't know if I have a picture of my NDT up in any of my pre-market trades. No, I don't have one there. Let me see if I do so I can show you. Anyway, the way that I trade, when I trade gold and when I trade oil, is I have 3 separate targets. I take my first target off at 7 ticks. I take my second target off at 10 ticks so that I have $170. I'm going for an initial $170 profit. And obviously, because I use the chart trader, you can see up here where my exact entry was, and that's that little pink mark right there. Out on target 1, out on target 2. And as I talked about, my goal is to get target 3, which is set at 80 ticks, to target 2, or target 2 break even plus 1, because at that point, I'm using house money. And again, it was my expectation that the candles would go ahead and would blow through these pivots as they did. Once I got through the 3rd pivot, what I noticed is fractal energy was beginning to increase, which means volatility was increased, which means that we were beginning to see a little bit of push-pull between the buyers and the sellers. The trend line also turned green, and at that point, I went ahead and I took myself out at, my exit was 52.36. Tried to get it 52.35, 1 tick less. And obviously this was, this trade was 170, I guess about $460, something like that, 510. So this was a good one. Now, was I able to call the bottom? Well, I don't want to say that I called the bottom, but there's enough things that the software tell us that it was like time to exit stage left. If those of you old enough to remember a cartoon from the 70s, yeah, it was time for what was his name, Snaggletooth, the cat, to exit stage left, which is exactly what I did. So those are a little bit about the indicators. The other thing is that I touched on is we were going from a white background, which was neutral, to a light pink background, which indicates more bearishness, to a mocha or a cappuccino background, to a dark pink background, which is the strongest of all the indications in terms of background. Also, as these color bands were turning red, what it told me is I needed to stay in that trade because it was going to go a long way and we were going to make a lot of profit. And that was a great one for everyone. So hopefully that answered your question. Dave, any other questions I need to address quickly? Oh, Dave is asking what time is the room open? So the night room is open from 5 p.m. till we sometimes will go 7, 7:30, 6:45, 8:15. Just all depends upon what the markets are doing. Oh, and I see some of you, Marilyn has the book. Okay, The World's Most Powerful Money Manual. That's a great one. Okay, great. I'm just going through. And yeah, for those of you that don't have the software, it's not really a big deal because believe it or not, our goal is not to sell you software. Our goal is to provide you with a trading room that allows those of you that want to trade in the evenings and trade pre-markets to be able to do that. If you go ahead and want to get the software, we've got a great discount coupon that we can give you. Dave's happy to help you. But our goal is to really develop a community of like-minded traders that are using something unique to produce proven, long-term, sustainable results. And that's basically what our goal is. And again, if you want to get the software, I do recommend it because one of the things you're probably going to want to do is tweak it, be able to play with it, adjust it, put the settings where you want. So it is highly recommended, but no, you do not need it whatsoever. There are people that are using TradeStation, Thinkorswim. Dave, are there any other software platforms that you can think of that people are using?
T4?
Yeah, absolutely. People are using NinjaTrader 7. They're using NinjaTrader 8. Dirk is asking also, what do the dots measure? They basically are looking at higher time frames. They do something similar to what the background biases do, but they do them with a higher level of specificity and a higher level of sensitivity. Yes, Scott, there's both an evening room and a pre-market room. So the evening room is open Monday through Thursdays from 5 p.m. onwards till sometimes 7, 8 o'clock, just depending. The pre-market room is currently open once a week, but we're going to be going to 2 days a week. And then by early November, the pre-market room will be open 4 days a week. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And I think I'm pronouncing this, yes, Tamir. The system can be used for Forex as well. We currently are not trading Forex. We did do a survey in the room. And again, because we consider ourselves to be a community of like-minded successful traders, we want to find out what people are interested in doing. And the majority said, no, we just want to stick with futures. Could we add Forex in the future? It's absolutely possible. No, Rich, we're not trading Sunday evenings, strictly Monday through Thursdays. And absolutely, you can absolutely get a trial. As a matter of fact, we're coming up on about 43 minutes right now, and I said we would go between 35 to 45 minutes. I really want to respect, I appreciate people's time. So I'm just going through these. Yes, Efron, I absolutely do call out live trades, and a lot of times I take live trades as well. I may not necessarily take live trades all the time. The reason is I may be working and coaching with a particular student when he sees something or he has a question. And again, we want to do it real time versus waiting, because there's a lot of rooms out there. It's like, you know, they've been trading for 2 hours, you made a couple $100. The moderator goes, okay, great, we made $200, had a great day. Hey, everyone, good luck, see you tomorrow. Or there are moderators that'll go ahead and spend 2 hours afterwards breaking down the trades. And what the majority of the people have said is, hey, we want you to break down the trades in real time. You know, help us and work with us and teach us how to do a better job of managing and even picking a potential trade. So at the end of the evening or end of the morning session, Rich, one of our goals is I want to make sure that your P&L is larger than mine. This is not about how great of a trader I am and how great of trades I'm taking. This is about your P&L and how profitable you are, and as well, how much emotional capital were you able to put into your savings bank. Yes, Vicki, 5 to 7:30-ish typically. Sometimes we'll go a little bit later. It just depends. Depends on market conditions. Jeff, I don't know. I don't know Greenwich Mean Time. It's right now 5 p.m. Central Daylight Savings Time in the U.S. So I think is it Beager? Beager is asking, do we trade the London session? Interesting question. We have a couple people in the room that like to get up at 3 a.m. Central Time and trade the London session. That's actually a little bit too early for me. Even though I am fairly spry, I'm not a spring chicken, but I am spry. And let's put it this way, if I'm up at 3 a.m. and I'm at my computer, I will open up the room, absolutely. But typically 4 a.m. till around 6:30, just depending. If we have some big winners, we can go ahead and close the room. And an example is we took a gold trade last week, and I encourage people to have specific dollar targets. And I know that one of the gentlemen has a dollar target for trading both the pre-market, the regular, the RTH, the retail trading hours, and the night room. And he doubled his profit target for the day. And he says, I'm going back to bed, then I'm finding a place that serves Bloody Marys and mimosa, and then I'm going to play golf. And I absolutely encouraged him to do that. Okay, so Vicky is asking, my targets are 7, 10, and 80. What is my initial stop? On gold and oil, it's 13 ticks. I use a little bit different stop on the mini S&P, and I use a little bit of a different stop on the NASDAQ. So it's 9:45 in the evening, UK time. Okay, thank you, Terry. I appreciate that. Yeah, Central Time, again, 5 p.m. Central. All right. So Han is asking, what percentage of our trades are the ES? At night, Han, I'm going to say probably maybe 15%. We don't see it. Now, we will see some action on the ES on the Globex Open, but one of the things that I didn't mention earlier, which is critically important, and this may sound a little contradictory when I first say it, but if you'll just bear with me for a moment, and then we'll get to the offer. Our goal at Right Line Trading at Night And our motto is we trade night at right. If it's dark, we're going to be trading. Is not to take winning trades, believe it or not. Our goal is to avoid losing trades. And one of the things that happens with the ES Han on the Globex Open is you can get some price action, but you don't necessarily get price movement. And that's one of the differences. So I'd say maybe 15% of the time we're taking ES trades. A lot of gold, a lot of oil, and definitely some NASDAQs. Now, some of them can take a little while to develop, but they're definitely out there. So Dave, I'm going to go ahead and I want to turn it over to you to go ahead and talk about the offer, what we're doing. And obviously, if people are interested, they can actually be with us in the next hour and 12 minutes. I'm going to turn it over to you, sir.
Hey, everybody. I'm going to give everybody a link into the room here. So everybody let me know you're going to get this link. Give me 1 second here. Okay, that has gone out to everybody. You guys let me know that you got that.
And the basic offer, good. So Sally got it, good, you got it. So here's the basic offer, quite simply. If you want to test our evening room or a night room, depending upon what part of the country, or for our friends in Australia, and we have quite a few people in Australia. Ford, I don't know if you're on the webinar, but if you are, good to see you as always. Basically, you get to test it for a week for the whopping price of $2. Yep, we try to make it affordable for everybody. If you want to stay in the room after that, it's $149 a month. And again, that gives you the evening room and it gives you the pre-market room. And again, right now the pre-market room is open once a week. Later this month, we're going to be going to twice a week. Then in November, we'll be going to four mornings a week.
And then I'll also talk to you guys. I'll go over the software that we offer. Dave, tell them about the trade scanner that's going to be coming out here soon also. And like you said, once you're a member of this room, I'm able to give you some discounts on our trading software, on the trade scanner, and on everything that we offer. So tell them a little bit about the scanner that's coming out, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a trade scanner. It's been in development for a while. The nice part is it's going to allow you to actually watch and observe up to, well, if you're trading equities, 100, 200. In terms of futures market, about 12 at a time. The other thing that we are going to be adding is the Japanese yen, the Aussie dollar, the New Zealand dollar, and the Nikkei. Those markets we will be adding. So basically what we are offering right now is what we call our legacy membership. And again, it's going to give you access to our pre-market trading room. You've got a locked-in price. You're going to receive priority technical support. It is limited to the first 100 members. You're also going to receive an invitation to our first annual RLT Trader Success Summit to be held in Cabo San Lucas in the spring of 2020. Let's see here. Oh, thank you so much, Jeff. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Mike, I appreciate that. That's very kind. Again, I've been doing this on and off for the last 30 years, and I consider myself blessed to have found this. So Thomas is asking 6 p.m. Eastern until. We could go for an hour, we could go for 2, we could go for 2.5, just depends upon what the markets are doing and what the markets are telling us. So yes, $2 gets you into the room for a week, allows you to test and kick the tires. Again, you don't need the software. We have a lot of people that don't have it, but it gives you the opportunity to not only, number one, look over my shoulder, see me calling out trades, but also get live, individual, one-on-one coaching while you're trading the markets. And I haven't seen another room that actually does that to the granular level that we do. It's very
guys, if you sign up for the $2, sorry, Dave, if you sign up for the $2 right now, you're going to get an email, because this is through GoToWebinar. You're going to get an email for the sign up link to the room tonight. I do not believe you're asking, Alan, is this the link to the room? No, I believe is the answer. This should be a special link just for this webinar that will be ending here shortly. So if you sign up on the $2 special, getting you 7 days, you're going to get an email every day with a link to the room. Also, Dave, tell them we are going to be switching over to a pro trading room here very shortly. We're working on that right now. But right now, you'll get a link for your daily link to the room, to the 5 o'clock Central Time, Monday through Thursday. So we've had, once again, guys, we don't trade on Friday, Monday through Thursday, 5 o'clock Central till, like Dave said, maybe 7, maybe 8 o'clock. And then David will always let you guys know if he's going to trade pre-market. We will not be trading tomorrow night. It's a holiday. and I believe David's going to be trading. Are you going to trade pre-market on early Wednesday, Dave?
Friday the 11th.
Okay.
Yeah, Friday the 11th. So, and again, everyone can see the slide. This is Dave's contact information. So I suggest you write that down. If you want to go ahead and get in this evening, if you shoot Dave an email, he's got nothing to do for the next hour. So he's going to be doing some work, sending out links.
Yeah, and you guys, if you sign up for the $2, I believe they're going to get that automatically. I'm going to
Right.
call Roy right now and make sure. But if they sign up through the link that I put in the room, that's going to get them the link to tonight's session, I believe. So
Perfect. And yes, Terry, you will get the pre-market session. No problem. You got here late. Not a problem. Again, right now we're about once a week. In a couple weeks, we're going to be going to twice a week, and then in early part of November, we'll be going to 4 pre-market sessions a week. Do I ever sleep? Absolutely. Yes, Daniel, we recorded the webinar. If you will go ahead and shoot Dave an email, you can see Dave's email address right on the screen, daveh@rightlinetrading.com. He will be able to get you a link to this webinar. Happy to do that. All right, so we're right at about 53 minutes. I don't see a lot of more questions coming in. Great. Oh, so Marilyn, we'll see you in the room tonight. Looking forward to that. And Dave, can you address Sally's question when you get a chance? Oh, thanks, Rich. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Mark, we're trading 4 nights a week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. However, we will not be trading tomorrow evening. If there's a bank holiday or a major religious holiday that can impact or affect the markets, we tend not to trade. For example, we will be trading. The room will be open Monday the 14th, but because it's Columbus Day, the markets may be really slow. So we're going to see if there's anything we can do that night. And again, may not be. We have to see. Dave, anything else we need to go over?
I think you're good. I'm just talking to some people here in private message, but I think we're good. And I'll
Good.
be here, guys. If you have some private messages, just message me, and I'm talking to several people, so I'm here.
Good. So Dave, I'm going to go ahead and just simply mute the mic, but I'll leave everything up in the meantime. Great, and I look forward to seeing some of you this evening, and we'll see what the markets can do. Thanks.
Alan, leave me your email here in the room, and I will make sure we get a recording sent out to you. That will not be a problem. And Guy, yeah, you can use that link if you want to use it for next week. If you're busy this week and can't get in the room, you can use that link, which will get you a 7-day access whenever you want. No problem, Irfan. I'll get that sent out to you here. I don't have it yet. Yeah, not a problem. David recorded it, and I'm just waiting for them to send it to me so I can send it out. So not a problem. As soon as they get it sent to me, I will get it out to everybody. I've had 7 or 8 people come in here late that need it, so not a problem at all. Also, Irfan, Alan, and everybody else here, Mike, Connie, Walter, Peter, everybody that's coming late, that link right there is the link to get you 7 days access in the nighttime trading room. And like you said, you don't have to do it today. If you're busy today, tomorrow, this week, whatsoever, you can use the link next week. It'll give you, whenever you want to use the link, for $2, it'll give you the 7-day access in the room. That's full access in the room, direct access to David Lewis, and we'll go over our software with you, do demos with that, explain the software to you, see if that's something you might want to add. Got it, Brian, Jeff. Yeah, Brian, I've got you. Jeff, Ifrin, Kevin, Rich, Mark. Yeah, Jacob, the webinar is over. We're going to start our regular session here in about 45 minutes, our evening nighttime session. I'm ready